Good morning from the National Weather Service office in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I'm meteorologist Donald Jones with your very early Sunday morning update on the potential winter storm that we're expecting to see across the area on Tuesday, as well as the extremely cold temperatures that we're expecting to see all week. Now, if you stepped outside yet this morning, you've noticed those temperatures have come down quite a bit, and the wind gusts of 30 miles per hour plus are making it feel dang chilly out there this morning. In fact, I've seen a couple of comments from people who did step outside already this morning, and it's chilly out there. Not as cold as it's gonna get, but it is certainly a stark difference from where we were this time yesterday. We are expecting temperatures to only climb into the kind of low to mid 40s by this afternoon. We have these strong northwesterly winds that cold front has moved through, and we are expecting those strong northwesterly winds to continue to filter very cold air into the region through the day. So we're not going to be looking at much in the way of temperatures climbing, even though we do have sunny skies out there across most of the area this morning. Even under that sun, it's still going to be very, very cold out there. And then add in those wind chill factors with those 30 mile per hour plus wind gusts. And we're still looking at, we're looking even this morning at feels like temperatures in the 20s, and we're going to be looking at those feeling in the 30s pretty much throughout the whole day today. As always, this is a live interactive briefing, so if you have any questions as we go through our briefing here, feel free to post them in our comment section, and we'll answer them just as soon as we wrap up the briefing portion of our live video here this morning. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it here because we do have a lot to cover. If you've been joining us the last few days, you've noticed I got a whole bunch of slides to go through. But again, temperatures will only climb into the mid 40s today. That cold front has moved through the area, and that very cold air mass that we've been advertising for the last several days is now beginning to filter into the region. We are going to be looking at dangerously cold temperatures and wind chills for essentially the next 5 nights. So beginning tonight and continuing all the way through probably at least Friday morning, we're going to be looking at dangerously cold temperatures and even colder wind chills. Now, the coldest day, it looks like, is going to be Tuesday night into Wednesday. So it's going to be the same day that we see the snow, especially because we're going to have that snow on the ground. Obviously, cold things on the ground tend to make it colder near the ground. So our coldest night is going to be Tuesday night into Wednesday, where we're going to be looking at temperatures in the mid-teens and wind chill factors bringing it down into the single digits across most of the area. Of course, those kind of temperatures are going to be life-threatening to anybody who's outside exposed improperly, such as wearing t-shirt like I am. That would not do well outdoors this week. So make sure if you do spend any time outdoors, you are properly clothed for the occasion, and don't spend too much time outside. Have a source of heat to get to readily and quickly to avoid any kind of risk of hypothermia. We are also going to be looking at the potential damage to unprotected pipes. Obviously, this is going to be life-threatening for any pets that are left outside, and any agricultural interests or sensitive vegetation is certainly going to be at risk of being killed from these very, very cold temperatures. We are still expecting fairly significant snow, potentially historic snow, across the area as we go into Tuesday. We're looking at widespread snow totals expected to be somewhere in the 4 to 6 inch range. I'll show you the map here in just a second, but that would be probably the second most, if that verifies, the second highest snowfall totals that we've seen across large parts of the area. The highest was way back in 1895. None of us were around back then. If you are, give me a call. I'd like to talk to you. But most of us have not seen this much snow in this area in our lifetime. And for those of you who have spent a lifetime here in this area, this may very well be the most snow that you've ever seen in this area, should these forecasts verify. We do have a winter storm watch in effect for the area pretty much through the entire day Tuesday. We're going to be looking at that snow beginning just after midnight, most likely, and continuing through the vast majority of the day. We may still continue to see those flurries even into the evening hours. So it is going to be a largely all-day type of an event. Again, 2 to 6 inches will be possible. We are still looking at a low-end probability of some freezing rain. Along with that, those chances are not nearly as high. We're looking at about a 20% chance of seeing some freezing rain along with those snow and sleet accumulations. But I think the snow is going to be much more prevalent as compared to the freezing rain. Let's go forward here. Go. So we do have this cold weather advisory. This is actually a new product that we've just issued here for the first time this season from the National Weather Service. This is essentially issued when temperatures or wind chills are forecasted to fall to 20 degrees or lower. And we are expecting that to be the case tonight into tomorrow. This actually goes through noon tomorrow. And then again, from 6 p.m. Monday, so notice there's only about a 6-hour period where this is actually not going to be in effect. So from 6 p.m. Monday until noon on Wednesday, and there is a very high chance that this is going to be extended through most of Wednesday, probably into Thursday, and probably into Friday as well. So this is just, if you didn't know, it's cold out there, and this advises you such that it is cold out there. We also have a winter storm watch continues to be in effect. This is going to be for midnight Tuesday until midnight Wednesday. That's when we're expecting to see virtually all of the potential winter precipitation that we're going to see. That's kind of the time frame where it's going to actually occur in. Again, we're looking at snowfall accumulations between 2 to 6 inches. Some models are showing even higher amounts than that. There are a few models out there that are showing 10 plus inches of snow. And I'm not ruling that out in a few isolated locations at this point, which that would be, it's almost unfathomable to think about that kind of snow here in this part of the world. But it's a legitimate possibility. With these kind of accumulations, roads, especially bridges and overpasses, are likely to become slick and hazardous and are subject to being closed. So expect to see some road closures beginning as early as Tuesday morning. But as we go through the day Tuesday and these snow accumulations begin to pile up, we'll see more and more road hazards and potential road closures with that. The combination of the strong winds as well as the weight of the snow on trees will have the potential to knock some branches down onto power lines. So power outages are going to be a possibility as we go through the day on Tuesday and even into Tuesday evening. So I've been telling everybody the last couple of days, be prepared. Not everybody's going to see power outages, but be prepared for the possibility of power outages. And what I mean by that is have an alternate source of heat besides electricity, whether that be a fireplace, those hand and foot warmers, coats, jackets, blankets, all those are good ideas. Generators that can run space heaters are also good ideas. So have an alternative source of getting warm or an alternative place to go in the event that you do have power outages across the area. Again, I don't expect those to be widespread, but I do expect that there will be some. And again, vehicle travel could become very difficult and hazardous. I do anticipate there will be road closures, especially bridges and overpasses. So even if you do manage to get out on the roads, even getting anywhere is going to be fairly difficult, especially as we get later in the day and those snow accumulations begin to really start to pile up. Why is this not going? Go. Okay. So here is the kind of the long and short of it here. This is our latest forecast snowfall accumulation for Tuesday. Let me see if I can get me out the way so those in down towards the Morgan City area can actually see what they're dealing with. Generally, we're looking at widespread amounts. Our forecast totals between the 4 and 6 inch range. That's what the dark blue there kind of indicates. And that's a large swath of southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana, even into over parts of south central Louisiana. These higher numbers have actually shifted a little bit further to the south from where they were this time yesterday evening. That swath was a little bit further to the north. So you can see now we're still looking at 2 to 4 inches up across central Louisiana, but the higher swath has actually shifted back to the south. Expect this to kind of meander back and forth a little bit here as we go through the next couple of days. This is not the end-all, be-all. These numbers are still subject to change, likely will change over the next day or two, at least through Monday evening. Again, the higher snowfall totals could lead to a lot of weight being added to not just trees and power lines, but also roofs. There is something called snow load that we're probably not familiar with in this part of the world. But essentially, the weight of the snow building up on the roof can cause roof collapses in some instances. Now, I'm not saying that's particularly likely, but especially those who have flat roofs, trailers, mobile homes, if you do see a lot of snow accumulation, that could potentially become a hazard. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. That's not necessarily likely at this point, but it is a possibility. And again, the combination of those strong winds and the weight of snow on tree limbs may bring down tree branches onto power lines that could cause some sporadic power outages. Why is this thing never moving when I want it to move? It's fighting me this morning. Now let's take a look now at the timing regarding the actual snow potential here. And this kind of gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect in terms of the actual time. We may begin to see a few light snow flurries during the Monday evening. You can see we've got about a 10 to 15% chance of snow. And of course, we're going to be below freezing by that point after sunset. So any precipitation that falls is likely to fall as frozen precipitation Monday evening, but still a pretty low probability. Those chances really ramp up, though, after midnight. And we're looking at the highest chances essentially between about 6 a.m. and noon. That's where the highest probabilities of precipitation will be, and then gradually kind of tapering off through the afternoon into the early evening. But we see we're still looking at about a 50 to 60% chance of snow all the way through about 5 p.m. in the evening across southeast Texas. And then taking a look at our southwest Louisiana cities and central Louisiana, kind of the same thing, maybe not quite as much in the way of probabilities during late Monday evening, but we're still looking at those probabilities ramping up early Sunday or Tuesday morning, I should say. And then between about 6 a.m. and noon is when we're expecting our highest probabilities across most of the area. South central Louisiana, you see those highest probabilities down over towards Lafayette, Morgan City, are actually going to be a little bit later in the day, kind of more towards the afternoon time frame. And then most of the activity should be just about out of here by about 5 p.m. or sunset. We could see some lingering snow showers, though, to as late as midnight Tuesday night. So we're pretty much confining the vast majority of this to right around from essentially midnight Tuesday to midnight Wednesday morning. For that. I don't expect there's going to be a whole lot more beyond that. Now, what's important to keep in mind, and we're going to talk about this more in just a second, temperatures are going to get below freezing. They're going to stay below freezing. Right now, we're not expecting temperatures to get much above freezing on Wednesday. So any snow that falls and accumulates is likely not going to melt at all Tuesday night, Wednesday, even into Thursday morning. We may not see any kind of real melting potential until at least Thursday afternoon. So that goes for not just the snow that's on the ground, but also the snow that's on the roadway. So if we have snow or ice accumulation that causes road hazards on Tuesday, chances are those road hazards are going to stay into Wednesday and possibly even into Thursday to as late as Thursday afternoon. So kind of keep that in mind as we're talking about this snow and when the potential hazards are going to be. This is the probability of seeing any amount of snow. You see these probabilities have been coming up the last couple of days, and they're now extremely high. We're looking at a 90 to 95% chance of seeing at least some amount of snow across the region here on Tuesday. And considering the fact we're still 2 days away, that's pretty incredible. It's even, in this part of the world, to get a snow forecast a day or two in advance is, we're patting ourselves on the back for that. To have these kind of probabilities this far in advance, that's almost unheard of around here. Now, looking at the probability of seeing more than 2 inches of snow, you see these numbers have also come up. We're generally looking at a 70 to 85% chance of seeing more than 2 inches of snow across a large swath of the area. A little bit lower down towards Lower Acadiana, you can see down towards the St. Mary Parish and Lower St. Martin parishes, between about a 40 and 65% chance. But in general, the majority of the region is looking at very high probabilities of seeing at least, or greater than, I should say, 2 inches of snow as we go through the day on Tuesday. For Wednesday, not Wednesday, for the possibility of more than 4 inches of snow, we're still looking at a 70% chance roughly, and between about a 50 and 80% chance, but the majority of the region is kind of in that 70% chance. So it's more likely than not that most of the region will see more than 4 inches of snow. Again, Lower Acadiana, St. Mary Parish, Lower St. Martin, you're kind of a bit of an exception there. Only about a 20 to 40% chance being right along the immediate coastline. We're not expecting snowfall totals quite as high down that way. It's also possible we may see a little bit higher probabilities of freezing rain down that way as opposed to snow. That's something we're going to continue to monitor. But at least for right now, we are still looking at very high probabilities of at least 4 inches of snow. Now, since we've got such high probabilities of at least 4 inches of snow, I want to actually we're going to talk even higher amounts here. This is the probability of seeing greater than 6 inches of snow. And you can see relatively still pretty high. We're looking at generally between about a 30 to 65% chance of seeing at least, or greater than, I should say, 6 inches of snow, with the exception, again, Lower St. Mary and Lower St. Martin, about a 5 to 25% chance. and now greater than 8 inches of snow. We're still looking at about a 50-50 probability of seeing 8 inches or more of snow across parts of, say, Beauregard Parish, northern Calcasieu Parish, Allen Parish, Vernon Parish, parts of Rapides Parish. So again, about a 50-50 shot of seeing more than 8 inches of snow. And again, there are a few models out there that are showing even higher amounts than that. There's our highest, our kind of worst case scenario would be almost a foot of snow. And that's something I never thought I would say, again, in this part of the world. That's pretty incredible that that's even a possibility. Again, we are looking, in addition to the overall potential for snow, we're also looking at a probability of ice, now from freezing rain. Now, this probability was higher yesterday evening. This has actually come back down somewhat. So we're looking at roughly about a 20% chance of seeing freezing rain of any amount. And this is going to be generally along and south of the I-10 corridor. This is the more dangerous form of winter precipitation. This is what's going to cause a lot more slick roadways and potential power outages if we do end up seeing it. As it stands right now, though, the probabilities are pretty low, looking at about a 15 to 20% chance. Now, looking at the probability of seeing at least 1/10 of an inch or greater, this is where we really start seeing impacts from potential freezing rain. You see those probabilities are even lower. We're looking at roughly about a 5% chance across parts of Jefferson County, Cameron Parish, Calcasieu Parish, Jeff Davis, over towards Lafayette, Vermilion, Iberia, St. Martin, and St. Mary parishes. Areas further north than that are actually not even, we're talking less than 1% chance of seeing that at this point. So the probabilities are low, but they're still there. So it's worth mentioning, at least until those probabilities get down closer to zero. Now, I don't want to harp on this too much longer, but since we are going to be looking at a significant snow event here, I want to take just a quick moment here and talk about how to measure snow. Because, of course, you're going to want to know how much snow has fallen across your area. You see me just floating over here. You're going to want to know how much snow you got at your house, and we want to know too. So we want to, considering this has the potential to be a historic snow event across the area, we want to get as much data as possible from it. So essentially, the only thing you need to measure snow is a yardstick or a firm ruler. Now, if you have what's called a snowboard, you see that's kind of described here. That's the ideal situation, but just a ruler on the ground is enough to take a snow measurement. Ideally, what you would want to have, though, is some kind of piece of either cardboard, maybe a box. Ideally, you would want it painted white, but it's not the end of the world if it's not. If you have a brown box, that works just as well. Just something that's flat that you can lay on top of your grass, that you can put your ruler into to actually take that measurement. That would be certainly good enough for us if we could get those measurements. So get your ruler handy. Get yourself a cardboard box, or ideally some kind of white. I think poster board would probably be ideal. Or a piece of styrofoam, a large piece of styrofoam would also work just as well. But even if you don't have that, just taking the measurement on the ground will certainly be beneficial to us. And send that to us whenever you start seeing the snow accumulate. You can send it to us here on Facebook. You can send it to us on X. You can send it to us on Instagram. My email is periodically up on your screen there. You can send it to me directly. So we can put together a snow map and see exactly what kind of snow and how much snow we've had across the region with this event. It'll be very interesting to see. All right, now let's move away from snow a little bit and start talking about the extreme cold, because we are going to be looking at extremely cold temperatures, and this is going to last not just one day, but it's going to last for about 5 days here over the course of this entire week. So starting tonight into Monday morning, here are our forecast low temperatures, looking at lower 20s across central Louisiana, all the way down to about Highway 190 or thereabout. Mid-20s along the I-10 corridor, and then upper 20s right along the immediate coastline. As we move into Monday night into Tuesday morning, very similar conditions. Again, lower 20s across central Louisiana, down to about Highway 190 or thereabouts. Mid-20s along the I-10 corridor, and then upper 20s along the immediate coastline. As we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, this is going to be our coldest night of the week. So we're going to be looking at low to mid-teens. You see that we got some 12 degrees in there, pretty much all the way down to the I-10 corridor, and then right around 20 degrees all the way down to even as far south as Cameron. We're going to be looking at some lower 20s getting out into the Gulf of Mexico even. So this is going to be by far the coldest night of the week, but as we get into Wednesday night and Thursday morning, we're not going to be too far or too much warmer than that. We're still looking at upper teens across a large part of the area with upper 20s right along the immediate coastline. And then as we get into Thursday night and Friday morning, noticeably warmer. So we're roughly about 10 degrees warmer, but still well below freezing. So mid-20s again, all the way down to the I-10 corridor. And then we may actually stay above freezing right along the immediate coastline, or just touch it very briefly. But still, most of the region will be looking at another hard freeze Thursday night into Friday morning. This graphic here kind of summarizes that in a little further detail, breaking it down by 3-hour periods. So you can see the box kind of highlighting there the times for the most dangerous conditions or the most dangerous temperatures. So we're looking at a very significant period from essentially this evening, roughly around sunset, all the way to about noontime on Thursday for hazardous temperatures. And then we're going to add in those wind chill values here in just a second. You'll see that'll make it feel even colder. This is the same thing for our southwest Louisiana cities. We're looking at lower 30s right around sunset and then dropping into the mid-20s both tonight into tomorrow, as well as tomorrow night into Tuesday morning, and then lower teens as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, and again, teens to lower 20s Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Now, we were talking about the winds and the wind chill factor. We do have very windy conditions out there. You can probably hear it if you're inside, or if you've stepped outside, you've definitely felt it. And this is going to stick around for a few days. So we're going to be looking at gusts to up to 30 miles per hour today, dropping off a little bit tonight, but we're still looking at gusts 10 to 15 miles an hour overnight. Going to pick back up to gusting around 20 tomorrow. And then as we get into Tuesday, you can see those gusts to 25 miles per hour plus across parts of southeast Texas. Looking at southwest Louisiana, we're looking at pretty much very similar conditions, maybe even some slightly higher wind gusts as we get into Tuesday. Now, besides the wind chill factor, what's important about these gusts on Tuesday is that this is going to be approaching blizzard conditions. We need 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts and heavy snow to have a blizzard condition. So we are going to be very close to that 35-mile-per-hour gusts. We'll have to see how that works out and exactly where. But if we get heavy snow on top of that, we may have to issue a blizzard warning. It's not out of the realm of possibility. That is the first time in my career that I've had to say that. But it is a possibility that we could be looking at blizzard conditions here across southeast Texas or southwest Louisiana on Tuesday once we add in these winds along with it. Now, putting the winds to the temperatures, we get our wind chill factor. And again, this has nothing to do with pipes. This is only what it feels like on your skin. Use the actual temperatures for potential pipe precautions and running water. Do not use the wind chills for that. But here are our wind chill forecast values. We're looking at mid-teens tonight into Monday morning, and this will probably continue all the way through late Monday morning. Perhaps as late as noontime for these temperatures, or these wind chill temperatures in the teens. As we get into Monday night and Tuesday, more of the same. We're looking at lower teens across parts of the area. The winds are going to not be quite as high, but they're still going to be, again, about 15 miles per hour or thereabouts. As we get into Tuesday night into Wednesday, we're talking about single-digit wind chill values. So getting very, very cold. Again, that's going to be our coldest overall night, and with those wind gusts on top of that, we're talking, in some cases, possibly close to zero for those feels-like temperatures. Wednesday night into Thursday, again, back in the teens. And then I thought I had Thursday night into Friday, but it's going to be a little bit warmer at that point because those winds are going to finally come down. Taking a look at again, this just kind of summarizes what we just talked about here. Again, teens to possibly single digits Tuesday night into Wednesday morning for those feel-like temperatures across southeast Texas, as well as southwest Louisiana. You can see the very dark blues there, single-digit wind chill values Wednesday morning across the area. Finally, I want to talk about the number of hours we're going to spend below freezing. This is the last thing I've got for you here. Then we'll answer some questions. But tonight into tomorrow morning, you can see this is the number of hours that we're expected to be below freezing across the area. Normally, it takes about 6 hours below freezing for pipes to start to freeze. So you can see we're pretty much above that number just about everywhere away from the immediate coastline. So we are going to want to start dripping pipes tonight, and we're going to do it for the next 4 nights, essentially, because we're going to be looking at multiple hours, many hours below freezing. So we can see essentially around 10 hours right along the I-10 corridor, up to 15 to 16 hours across parts of central Louisiana. Again, this is tonight into tomorrow. Going tomorrow night into Tuesday, very similar. Again, right around 10 hours along the I-10 corridor, up to 16 hours across parts of central Louisiana. Now, as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday, we're not expecting to even get above freezing on Wednesday. So this is 24 plus consecutive hours, and we're probably going to be looking at closer to 36 to 40 consecutive hours of temperatures below freezing from Tuesday evening through probably Thursday afternoon. So as you get into, we go through Wednesday night into Thursday, again, very high duration temperatures below freezing. So essentially from, say, call it late Tuesday afternoon, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock till about maybe 2 or 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon, we're going to be below freezing. And then Thursday night into Friday morning, we're going to be looking at, again, 10 to 12 hours below freezing across a large part of the area away from the immediate coastline. So that's what I have here for you this morning from the National Weather Service. We are going to do another one of these briefings this evening at 7 p.m. So we'll have another update for you at that point. We are going to answer questions here over the next few minutes. But if you have no questions and you understand everything and you're prepared to freeze to death, then by all means, feel free to head out. Otherwise, we will answer questions for the next few minutes, and our next briefing will be 7 p.m. this evening. Let me go ahead and back up here. I'm going to put the snowfall graphic back up there, and I will check to see if we do have any questions. If you have one, feel free to throw it in there. If you posted it towards the beginning, I may not see it, so throw it back in there again. I'll be happy to answer it. Dustin said, where can I get a last-minute sled? Well, I mean, anything can be a sled if you believe hard enough. Some people used to use garbage can lids. I'm not sure. I guess anything made out of like aluminum or a hard plastic could suffice. I think the harder part is finding a hill to slide down in this part of the world. Trevor asked, will the snow be melted Thursday? Probably not. I would say almost certainly not. It may start to melt Thursday afternoon, but I don't expect it to all be gone probably until sometime this weekend. Suge, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you're asking about rolling blackouts. Again, because we're going to be so cold, we're going to be looking at a much higher electricity usage from everyone turning those heaters on. So yeah, besides the potential risk of power outages from the winds and snow, we could also be looking at some power outages from the electrical grid being overextended. So yeah, that is going to be a possibility. Cornell says, we aren't made for this kind of cold weather stuff. We certainly don't have a lot of experience with it, especially the snow stuff. Ori says, I am 61 and I have never seen a forecast like this before. It's unbelievable. Yeah, the situation we're kind of comparing this to right now is a snow event that happened way back in 1960. So there are a few, I'm sure, people watching this that do remember that, but it's been a long, long time since we've had anything of this level in this area. Southeast Texas Skywarn says, do I have to go to work? That's not up to me. That's up to your boss or whoever's paying you. So ask them. John asks, what's the confidence level in the snow totals? I'd say they're about normal right now, or average. I do expect that there are going to be some changes here. We're not locking this in by any means. So I do expect there'll be some changes. We'll probably see some changes as early as this afternoon. So yeah, do expect this to change. But as far as, looking at those probabilities that we were looking at earlier, there's pretty high probabilities kind of in this range. So we're feeling fairly good about these amounts, but I do expect that they will change somewhat. Lisa says, so when is all the snow expected to melt? Right now, I think it is most likely to start melting Thursday afternoon. We probably won't have all of it melted probably until sometime this weekend, maybe Saturday. It's hard to say for sure because it's going to depend on exactly how much snow falls. The more snow you get, the longer it's going to take to melt off. But we're not really even going to start melting until Thursday afternoon. Ashley says, will schools be likely closed Wednesday too? I can't speak to that. If there are road closures that occur Tuesday, chances are very high they're going to remain closed Wednesday. So, school officials will take that into account. And if that's the case, they most likely will cancel schools. But I can't say for, that's not my call. And there's too many unknown variables for that. The comedian asked, what is the time frame for when all preparation should be completed? For the cold, having pipes wrapped and such, you want to have those done by sunset this evening. For any kind of snow preparations, you want to have those done by, I'd say, midnight Tuesday morning. So very late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Do you anticipate the snow to be wet or dry? In this part of the world, the vast majority of snow is wet, which is good for snowball making and good for snowman making. So we tend to, and what he means by wet or dry, for those who are confused, snow has a different solid to liquid water ratio, depending on how much water is actually being carried in it. So you can have very dry snow that's more like a powder. That's not going to stick very well together. When you clump it, it just kind of falls apart. Whereas a wet snow, a heavier snow, is going to clump together quite readily. And when you melt it down, it has more water content. In this part of the world, we usually have much higher humidities, relatively speaking. So we are expecting it to be a fairly wet snow. Courtney asks, do you expect power outages? I do expect there to be some power outages, yes. I don't expect them to be widespread, but I do expect there will be power outages, yes. And so I've been telling everyone, prepare for the possibility of power outages. Have an alternative source of heat, whether that's a generator that can run space heaters, a fireplace, some of those chemical hand warmers, or just a bunch of blankets and jackets and clothes. That works too. But definitely have yourself an alternative source of heat and be prepared for the possibility of power outages, because yes, there will be some. Courtney says, do you know if the bridges have been salted? Someone called DOTT. Goodness gracious. I do know that DOTT has, they have staged salt and sand and all of that. They are pre-treating, I think, some roadways. I don't have specifics on exactly which ones, but they are definitely taking this seriously, and they are pre-planning and pre-treating as much as they can. Beth says the forecast keeps upping the chance of snow. Is that trend going to continue? You're in Assumption Parish. Well, we don't specifically cover Assumption Parish, but your point is well taken. The snow amounts have been fluctuating somewhat. They were actually a little bit lower last night, and then they've come back up this morning. That's going to happen, and I expect that to continue to happen as the different models continue to run back and forth, and as we get closer and closer in time, we narrow down that window more and more. Do I expect the storm totals to increase? It's a possibility. I wouldn't necessarily say I expect it, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if we see some higher amounts with future forecasts. Lissy says, in your opinion, do you think the roads could possibly be unsafe to travel because of snow going into Wednesday morning? Yes. Yes, I think that there will be road hazards. I think there will be some ice on roads, and I think some roads are going to be closed, especially bridges and overpasses. So yeah, I do think that there will be some unsafe roads out there. Natalie says, if you and the family want to go outside to make memories in the snow Wednesday, how long is safe to be outside? As long as you're dressed properly, we ask you to dress in layers, and as long as you don't feel like you're getting cold or hands are going numb or anything, you can stay out there as long as you feel comfortable. When you start to feel your hands going numb, that's when you want to seek a source of warmth and warm up. How you're dressed is going to have a lot to say about how long you can bear to be outside. Liz says, Donald Jones, hi Liz. This is a friend of mine up in Kansas. She dealt with the snow of her own a couple of weeks ago. Shooter asks, are you going to launch a radio sonde on Tuesday morning? Yes. Me personally, probably. And I'm not going to be excited to do it. But we do weather balloons twice a day. So that'll go up Tuesday morning. It'll go up at 5 a.m., when it's cold and freezing and windy and snowing. And I'm not looking forward to that. But we'll see how it goes. Alicia says, blizzard, is this for real? I'm not saying we're going to have a blizzard. I'm saying that conditions are going to be getting close to the criteria for a blizzard. We'll have to see if it actually meets those criteria. But again, the criteria for blizzards, 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts and heavy snow that reduces visibility to a quarter mile or less. I think that's going to be the harder one to get to. We'll have to see how heavy the snow actually is and if it reduces those visibilities. But I think we're going to be right on the cusp of those wind speeds. Robert Dubois says, in your opinion, when will the roads be safe to travel on? That I can't say with any degree of certainty because it's going to depend on a lot of factors that are out of everybody's control. For one thing, it's going to depend on exactly what the temperature is. It's going to depend on exactly how much ice and or snow falls. It's going to depend on whether the roads have been pre-treated or post-treated by DOTD. It's going to depend on how much sunshine shines on the roads to potentially warm them up. There's a lot of factors there that I just can't answer that question with any degree of certainty. Brianna asks, will the bridge close from Lafayette to Baton Rouge Monday night? I don't think Monday night. No, we're not expecting significant snow until Tuesday morning, at least not at this point. So I don't think there's going to be any problems on the bridge Monday night. Ellen Stevens says, when should we stop going across bridges? When law enforcement and or the DOTD close the bridge. Because they're monitoring all these bridges and they'll close them as soon as they become unsafe. So as long as it's open, you should be safe to cross. Jennifer says, do we have a time frame on when it will start raining? It's not going to start raining. It's going to start snowing. But don't feel bad. I've made that mistake several times myself. As far as the timing goes, this is kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at the possibility of a few light snow flurries and or showers kind of during the late evening, Monday evening. But the vast majority of the activity is going to be essentially from midnight to about 5 p.m. on Tuesday, maybe going a little bit later across parts of South Central Louisiana, say over towards, Crawley, Morgan City, those areas. But the majority of the activity is going to be from about midnight to 5 p.m. on Tuesday. That's kind of our time frame. Tina asks, is there anything we can do to prepare our roofs for the snow accumulation on it? That's a really good question, Tina. And I am not aware of anything really that you can do in advance. There may be, if someone else out here is a roofing expert that can chime in. But I personally, I don't really know how one prepares for snow on roofs. I don't have any experience with it. Richie says, will there be any shelters for those that aren't as lucky as us? Yes, there are. There are several. I know there's at least 2 in Calcasieu Parish. I know there's going to be 1 in Jennings. I don't have an exhaustive list in my head, but most parishes and counties are opening warming shelters for those who are exposed outdoors and don't have anywhere to go. So yes, there are going to be warming shelters out there. My advice for getting those is to check out your local news media outlets here in Lake Charles. KPLC, over in Lafayette, KATC, up in Alexandria, KLB. There's KLFT. There's all the BMT over in Beaumont. Any one of your local TV stations will have that information about warming shelters. Oliver says, I'm originally from Switzerland, and snow days were my best childhood memories, so please go play with your kids in the snow. They will remember it forever. And this is one of the few opportunities we may have to do it. So yes, absolutely. As long as you can do so safely, absolutely. Get out there, go make a snow angel, go make a snowman, throw snowballs at your kids, hit them in the face. Say it's my fault because I told you to do it. That's fine. I'm okay with it. I'm all about hitting kids in the face with snowballs. Wesley asks, can I make the whole cold thing go away? We're not built for this. Thanks for your useful info. Well, here's some useful info. No, I can't. If I could, I would, and then I'd ask for a raise. But no, unfortunately, I just tell the weather. I don't make it. Courtney asks, how long do you think the interstate bridges may have to be closed for? In a worst case scenario, possibly Thursday afternoon, and if it doesn't clear by then, Friday afternoon. I think that's a worst case scenario at this point, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. But again, like I was talking about before, there's a lot of factors there that I really can't account for, so I can't answer that with any kind of certainty. Again, exactly how much snow is going to be on the roads? What are the road temperatures when it falls? Has the road been pre-treated? Does DOT come along and put salt and or sand on it? What time does the temperatures exactly get above freezing and for how long? There's a lot of unknowns there that I can't answer those questions with any kind of certainty in advance. Brett says, do you see a possibility for up to 10 inches of snow? It's a possibility. It's a low possibility at this point. I'd say it's probably less than 20%, but it is there. It's not going to be completely out of the realm of possibility. Michael says, will brick homes on concrete slabs have to worry about pipes? It depends where your pipes are. Obviously, the pipes that are in the ground are no problem. But if you have pipes that run along the exterior of your house that are not insulated, those could potentially become a problem. So best advice I can give you for that is, first off, open your cabinets, especially your kitchen. That's usually where your pipes are going to be. That lets the warmer air from the house circulate in there and keep those pipes above freezing. And then, of course, there's the trickle the water option as well. Sujay, I'm not going to get it right. Says no freezing rain means power outages are less likely, so tree branches falling and grid strain would be the most likely cause of outage. Yes, that's exactly right. Chad says, you only doing Lake Charles area? What about Tangipahoa, Hammond area? You know anything about us? I don't. Actually, I'm from there, so I do. But we don't actually cover that area with this office. That's actually covered by the National Weather Service office, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, which is actually located in Slidell. But they do Facebook Lives. They have social media accounts. You can also, give them a call, send them a message. They cover that area, so they have a lot more detailed information. We have detailed information for this particular area, so we focus on this particular area. They have the same for those areas. Wendy asks, will it be a named winter storm? The Weather Service does not name winter storms. That's a Weather Channel thing, and the Weather Service and the government does not acknowledge those winter storm names. So I don't know, and I'm not supposed to care. Sean asks, will you be doing more frequent updates tomorrow with more information becoming available the closer we get? I'm still planning on doing just the 7 a.m. and the 7 p.m. unless something changes significantly. I don't expect a dramatic change. We are going to have more information, so we will get more confident in this forecast. But at least at this point, I don't expect any kind of dramatic shifts. So I think we're going to stick with our current schedule of doing the 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.s. Sure, yes. Is there a way to watch this broadcast from the beginning? I missed most of it. Yes. I think you can rewind it even while it's live, but if not, as soon as it's over, it'll be available as a recording, so you can watch it at that point. And if you can't rewind it here on Facebook, you can almost certainly do so on YouTube. We have a Weather Service YouTube page, just National Weather Service Lake Charles on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure you can do it on there. We're also broadcasting on there. Priscilla says, I don't see Morgan City on the map. It is there. I'm just kind of covering it up with my big, stupid head. But there you go. You can see it now. Okay, just running through comments here, trying to find the questions. Keisha asks, pipes under a mobile home but have full skirting, will that be a concern for pipes? Yes, skirting is not insulation. So yes, absolutely, you're going to be at risk. You want to wrap your pipes if you can access them. If you can't, then you definitely want to make sure you're running water, because skirting provides very little, virtually no insulation. So yeah, those pipes will very much be at risk. Natalie says this one is now named Ticked Off Elsa or Winter Storm Boutro. I'm okay with that. I'm here for that. Benjamin asks, will you provide live or frequent updates during the event stream? We'll see how that goes. I mean, snow is one of those situations where, it doesn't exactly, it's not very dramatic. It just falls and accumulates. So we'll see how it goes. I'm actually working midnight shifts right now. So I'm working in the middle of the night. That's why I'm talking to you here this morning. The same thing is going to be the case when the snow starts. So as it's falling during the day, I will have already been up all night, so I may not be here to do it. But we will provide updates on our social media pages, even if we're not doing a live stream. Bridget says, can we go over the timeline for Monday night into Tuesday? Yeah, we sure can. Again, we're looking at generally after midnight for the vast majority of the snow, essentially between about midnight, and you were asking about Southeast Texas, so here's our Southeast Texas ones. But essentially from midnight through about 5 p.m., that's when the vast majority of the snow is going to fall. You can see those are our probabilities of precipitation. The highest between about 6 a.m. and noon, but still pretty high from about midnight to about 5 p.m. Beth also asking about the timing, so there they are. Feel free to have a look-see. Kendall says, would it be better to just shut off my water and drain my pipes? That's always an option. Obviously, you'll be out of water in that case, but shutting off your water and draining your pipes will keep them from freezing and bursting. Yeah, absolutely. That's a solid method. Katie says, I wish they name it. Some companies will not cover wages in case of power outages for some of us working from home. They're not going to cover it unless they name it. Well, the they is the Weather Channel. And again, they are not an official source of anything. So if that's your company policy, I'm sorry. That's all I can say. But the Weather Service, just like the Hurricane Center issues hurricanes, the Hurricane Center is part of the Weather Service. We do not issue, or we do not name winter storms. we, as policy, think that's a really stupid idea. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I've reached the bottom of my question list here. But again, if you do have any questions that you think of once we get off of our briefing here, or if I missed one for any reason, or if you're viewing this as a recording and have a question, feel free to send us a direct message on Facebook. I'll be happy to answer your questions there. You can also send us an X message on X. You can also send us an Instagram message on Instagram. We're on there as well. You can also send me an email. My email's on your screen there on the bottom right-hand side. It's donald.jones@noaa.gov. So my name with a dot in the middle, donald.jones@noaa, NOAA.gov. You can also give us a call. Our phone number is also on your screen there, area code 337-477-5285, and speak to one of our forecasters directly. We do have forecasters here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, including holidays like tomorrow and snow days like Tuesday. So we'll be here regardless. So lots of ways to get your questions answered if you still have them. We are going to do another one of these briefings at 7 p.m. this evening. So we'll have all the latest and greatest for you regarding the forecast, timing, impacts, and all of that at that time. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Bundle up if you're going outside. It's already cold out there, and it's going to stay that way pretty much all this week. We'll talk to you again this evening, 7 o'clock.